Hello everyone, and welcome to Let's Talk Business. I'm Jean Babel, and today we are at 1232 Washington Street, the home of Sam's Appliances, TV, and Furniture. And today we're going to have a great show. Most of you know Sam's, and they've been around for a long time, and we're going to talk a lot about the history and then the current store, which has so much to offer. And we're meeting today with Ed Anzlova. Did I get it right, Ed?
Close to Anzlovar.
Anzlovar, and that is a Slovenian
Yes.
Name. And
there's a little love in all of us.
And Ed is the owner, the current owner of Sam's. And so we're going to talk a little bit. Ed has some great pictures of when the former owner, who was Sam, had the business way back in 1933. And a really historic business here in town. Probably one of the oldest currently run consistently run business here.
I'm not sure, but I think about the only place I can think of that could be an older business than us in Norwood would probably be Abdalla's. They may have been here before us, and I'm not even sure of that. But Sam started in 1933, and I really can't think of any other store around in town that's older than that.
Yeah. So Ed wasn't here in 1933, just so that you know, but he has a lot of information about the history. So we're going to start with just tell us about the early days and where the store was located. Who was Sam, and how did the business, get going and continue its success till today in 2015?
Well, from what I know, Sam came from Worcester as a young man, and he started a store up on Washington Street. And it was in probably a 1,000 square foot location. He was mostly selling automobile parts.
Automobile, wow.
Yeah. And then from there, I'm not sure exactly when, he moved over to Cottage Street, right facing the Common, and he opened a store that was one of the original department stores. Sam had appliances, he had auto parts, he sold tires.
A little bit of everything?
Because back then all the appliances were kind of made by automobile manufacturers.
Oh, okay.
And Sam started that, but then he had this pretty big store, and he had different concessions in there. He had Orton's Sporting Goods, had a concession. They eventually opened Orton's over on Central Street. I don't even know if they're still there. He had another concession of a guy selling pots and pans. And then Sam pretty much over in that location was selling furniture, appliances, and televisions.
See, that would be a good concept for some of the big buildings that we have downtown now, to have like the and then if they're successful, they spin off from having a small space to a
I mean, it might work that way because somebody can't afford to pay a $6,000 or $7,000 rent for a space uptown. Maybe they can afford to pay $1,000, and you get 5 of them together, and with the different things, they're drawing different people in.
Yeah, and it's a good way to see if it actually works or not.
It's kind of the philosophy that we have here, in that we sell appliances, we sell a few TVs, we sell furniture, because it's difficult to get a customer to come to your store, and when you do get a customer to come to your store, you want them to come back. And if we sell them an appliance only, we may never see them again for 10 years. Whereas we do have a lot of people that come in here, and one year they're buying a refrigerator, the next year they're buying a mattress, the next year they're buying a recliner, the next year they may need a living room set. And they tend to come back, and they tend to bring their family and other members of the family and friends, and that's how the whole thing works.
So you took over the business in the 70s, 1978, or was that your father? Because your father also worked for Sam too, right?
Yes. Well, Sam moved the business from Cottage Street over to Central Street. So we used to have a store in the back behind the parking lot behind Klein's. And that's
which
where
some of you will remember. It's not there anymore,
right.
but
And my father used to repair washing machines. So he had his own business out of Sam's called County Appliance. And he basically made his whole life's work of fixing wash machines and dryers. That's all he fixed. He didn't do the other appliances. We had other people at the store to do that, but my father did washers and dryers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in 1974, I got out of college, and there was a recession going on, and I was going out applying here, there, and everywhere for a job.
I remember that.
I couldn't find a job anywhere. So my father said, well, they need someone to drive the pickup truck down to Sam's, going into Boston, picking up things, running errands, part-time. Why don't you do that while you're looking? So I came down and applied, and Sam hired me, and I figured I was going to be here for a couple of months. And now, what's it, over 40 years or around 40 years later, I'm still here, still looking for my real job.
So you must love it then. For 40 years.
It's become a lifestyle. I say I spent more time here than any place else, even home.
So you and your dad actually worked at the same time for Sam?
Right. I came into the store, like I said, I was driving the pickup truck. Back then there was still a lot of businesses in Boston, so we'd go into Boston, we'd repair a vacuum cleaner for somebody, and there was a vacuum cleaner store over on Beacon Street that we'd go to, or we'd pick up furniture over in Cambridge. A lot of the manufacturers, not the manufacturers, the distributors would be in there. Maytag used to be in over in Cambridge, and we used to pick up mattresses from a place in East Boston, but all these places are gone now. And
because they were all made, most of the products were made in the United States back then, I would assume.
Back then, everything I think that we were selling was made in USA.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the furniture, the TVs, and appliances were all made in USA. Yeah.
You wouldn't probably remember the first TV that was ever sold at Sam's, would you? No, you're too young, so it would have been your dad or...
I do not. I can tell you there used to be a man, his name was Al Kraus, and he was, to my knowledge, the first in the area TV repairman. And he was from Norwood, but he worked out of Sam's, and we actually have a picture over there of the old store on Cottage Street, and you can see all the old cars lined up, and the people are looking in the window, and what they're looking at is they're watching TV.
For the first time?
Televisions had just come out,
Yeah.
and it was, I'm sure, a phenomenon to people to see a television. Those was just coming out of the era radio.
You just reminded me of the TV repairman. Now, I totally forgot that that's what, you had your 3 stations, and if something went wrong, which it always seemed to, the tube or whatever.
Yeah, that's what it was.
You'd have to call the TV repairman to come in.
Right, and he would come in with a big box full of tubes, and he would change a particular tube, and your TV's set, you're okay.
That was a full-time job
for
someone back in that totally changed. Yeah.
And I know my family, we got our first color TV back in, it was either the late 60s or the early 70s. My brother, my sister, and I chipped in, and we bought a 19-inch color TV from Sam for my parents for their 25th wedding anniversary. And that was the first time we had a color TV. Other than that, we were watching a black and white. And those were the days where you laid on the couch and you watched the same channel all night.
Because you didn't have a
remote. Otherwise, you had to get up and turn the channel. So.
That's a riot.
Yeah.
That's funny. So you have some old pictures over there that we're going to can we talk about those? Just,
Sure.
That goes back to the beginning days too.
Sure.
And the 3 photos that you have, if you could just tell us a little bit about each one of those.
And you can see people lined up in front of the window. They're watching television. You can see RCA Victor and Admiral. Those were probably Motorola. Those were the big names in television back then.
So how much was the color TV that you kids bought for your dad?
I can't remember that, but I'm looking here now. This picture is probably taken in the 1950s,
Oh, okay.
maybe earlier, and there's an Admiral television on sale in there for $2.99. So when you think about that,
That's a lot for
back
those,
then,
yeah.
a guy was probably making $50 a week.
Mm-hmm.
So to buy a television for $299 would be quite an expense.
Yeah, you'd have to
You'd
be.
probably have to mortgage. I mean, you could. My parents bought their first house for $9,000.
Yeah,
so.
oh yeah, yeah. No, that was a big investment, even when you compare it to today. So, and this is now Sam, right?
That's Sam. I'm not sure where this picture was taken, and nobody knows who the little boy is or the lady in the picture. But this picture has to be 70 years old because
It looks like
Sam's a pretty young man in that
Yeah.
picture, and today he would be probably 105, I
Oh.
would guess, if he was still alive. So
The little boy's in a barrel. I don't know if you can
Yeah,
see
I
that. He's picking out. It looks
they
like a
must have had a
raffle
raffle,
ticket.
and he must
Yeah,
have pulled out the raffle ticket. So
very cute. And Sam with his pencil in his ear.
yeah.
And oh, this is an interesting one here.
Well, this is a picture. They used to have a warehouse up near the tannery. What's it off of Endicott Street? And this is a railroad car. They're unloading a railroad car full of Admiral refrigerators. And you can see the refrigerators come in a big crate. And it's actually my father up there in the picture. This was 1954, so I was 2 years old when this was going on. This is the original Sam. These two guys used to drive a bus. Tim Hanscom, his wife Chris, used to be up at Liggett's behind the counter there running the lunch counter. It was a great time back in the 70s. I'm sure a lot of people remember and miss that, going up there at lunchtime.